I'm in Dublin today and I'm so looking forward to sampling some Irish hospitality across the Atlantic from Dublin all the way to New York, Newark Airport. Not flown from Dublin across the Atlantic for a while. I'm looking forward to sampling pre-clearance and also what is in store on board. So come fly with me, let's see what happens.
It started off as a great day at Dublin Airport. Aer Lingus has a separate section for business class passengers. I was a little bit disappointed it was just a sectioned off area and there were only 2 desks, which meant there was quite a long queue. Now the sign here is misleading. It says, "We'd love to see you in the lounge," but the lounge unfortunately was closed. More on that later. But overall, it wasn't a long check-in process. It took me about 15 minutes to drop my bag and I was headed up to security. Now it's a really nice security hall, really high ceilings, there's loads of space, and there's no missing the fast track queue. I don't think it could be better labeled than it currently is. It took about 5 minutes to go through security, which was really nice. Now, whichever class you're flying in, there's plenty to keep you occupied at Dublin Airport. Lots of shopping, lots of food, lots of drinks, but I was heading to pre-clearance, which is really one of the benefits of flying to the US from Dublin. No further video from there, but it was a really quick experience. I'll tell you more about that in a second. Now, the US departure area is quite narrow, low ceilings, not a ton of space, and as you can see, it was really busy. But there is lots of food and drink options available to you. I loved seeing WKD Blue, reminds me of my university days. Not seen this in an airport, I don't think ever before. Now, I was then headed up to the main departure area, which is where my flight was leaving from, where there's loads more space. It's a lot more quieter and a lot more airy. And this was the plane, an A321neo, narrow body, and as you can see there, they're just prepping the catering for the flight.
Pre-clearance was so brilliant. It took about 10-15 minutes. A few times coming into the US, you get caught with long queues, which after a long flight really is the last thing you need. So it feels so good to just get it out of the way. Yeah, it was really, really convenient. Loved it. There is a lounge this side of security, but it's been refurbished and it opens, believe it or not, tomorrow. So I'm not going to get to benefit from it. I do get €20 to spend as a business class passenger, so I might go and grab some drinks, maybe a snack now. But otherwise, I'm just going to wait at the gate to board and see what awaits on this flight.
It was a fairly speedy boarding process. Business class passengers got to board first, and a short walk to the jet bridge, and I was soon on board. Now, not every business class seat is created equal. Look at that throne seat on Aer Lingus business class. I was so jealous. My seat did not have direct aisle access. I had somebody next to me. Throne seat is amazing. This one kind of misses direct aisle access. But look at that lovely big cushion, which I had behind me as lumbar support pretty much for the whole flight. There you can see the seat controls. The seat design is a little bit dated. Couldn't get the massage function to work. I've never had that work on any Aer Lingus flight. If you have, please let me know in the comments. And you can see some noise cancelling headphones there. That control pad has seen better days. Looks like it's not been cleaned for a while. I didn't actually use it. But the screen is touchscreen, so you don't really need to use it. There was a decent amount of modern day classics, new releases, and lots of TV shows on the in-flight entertainment as well on this flight. Now, wherever I'm going, typically my favorite thing on the screen is the in-flight map. So I had that positioned front and center for the flight. Now, this is the menu. There was a decent range of wines, red wine, white wine, champagne, alongside the food today, which I was really impressed by. Smoked salmon, butternut squash soup, beef, chicken, or gnocchi. Pause that if you want to have a closer look. Then there was an afternoon tea service just before we arrived. And I've never seen this before, cocktails in the sky, really nice. The amenity kit was pretty cute with just some basic essentials in there that you'd need. Eye shade, moisturizer, lip balm, socks, earplugs, dental kit, and a pen. So I'll definitely be taking that one home. Now, after a short pushback, we were headed to the runway. Note there was no drink served before takeoff today. I think myself and the Aer Lingus Retrojet have been following each other. I saw it recently in Manchester, so it was really fun to see it again as we headed off. And there you can see so much greenery before they don't call it the Emerald Isle for nothing. Really stunning views on takeoff. And in a very short amount of time, we were actually heading above the clouds and on our way to New York. A little bit longer than normal from Dublin, but I believe that was because of a lack of wind, which also meant it was super smooth. Now, business class passengers get free Wi-Fi, which was welcome. It was pretty slow, but for a free service, not too bad.
We are airborne. Very quick to see where's we go to Takeoff. Flight today, a little bit longer than expected, about 7.5 hours. No pre-departure beverage, so I'm kind of thirsty, but I do have water. So, hoping they'll start the service soon. I have gone for the salmon. I was going to go for the chicken, but they ran out. They did offer me casserole from me, but I quite like beef, so I went for beef instead. So let's see how it is. It's a really smooth day in disguise.
Apologies for the audio issues on that clip. Now you can see here the layout. There was plenty of space. I did have my neighbor to climb over, but she was really friendly and I have no issue asking her if I could get out. Again, the throne seat in front of me, you just saw it there. It's amazing. Direct aisle access, loads of space. So if you're flying Aer Lingus Business, try and get that seat. The tray table was huge and it folded down easily from the middle console in between the two seats. There was no problems with that. Now, as mentioned before, this is a narrow body plane and I saw the galley at the front of the plane. It's really small and that meant that the service was quite slow. It took them a while to get started here. Now, the champagne eventually arrived and here is to a good flight. There was some nibbles, some crackers, some chutney, which I thought was a really nice touch. And I noted the champagne on this flight was extra bubbly. You don't often see that on a plane. Now, this was the salmon to start. It really was so delicious. It was well presented. And the beef was knockout, no notes. It was tender and super nice. This is the bathroom, really small bathroom at the front. Again, it's a small plane and some really nice amenities though in there, which kind of elevated it from the economy bathroom. Otherwise, it's the same size. Now the seat had seen better days. That USB was broken. It's not an old plane, so kind of disappointing to see that wasn't working. Despite having to climb over my neighbor to get out, I did really enjoy the window seat for the views, which continued throughout the flight.
We have about 3 hours left now of the flight, not too long to go. The food was delicious, really so good. Much nicer than I expected. The service was a little bit slow. It took about an hour for the first round of drinks to come out. A little bit old school. They brought out the drinks on a trolley, which no problem with that. But the food really made up for the slow service. It was so delicious. Aer Lingus have been really generous with their drinks. I had a glass of champagne, and you can see on the videos it looked more like a goblet of champagne. And before I knew it, they'd refilled it again. So I'm going to be sobering up for the rest of the flight. Only kidding. But so far so good. It's really smooth. The food has been great. I think I'm really noticing the benefit of having the throne seat. I can see the person in front just has unlimited aisle access. Do you feel a little bit trapped here by the window? But still, I'm very grateful to be in business and it's super comfortable, so feeling good.
I asked for a peppermint tea during the flight and I was so disappointed that it arrived stone cold, which was a real shame. I asked them and they did change it though. Now, a quick afternoon tea before landing and we were soon beginning our descent into Newark. Again, it's a short flight, so it was the perfect size snack before we did land. It was fairly tasty. And we were soon on the ground in Newark. Now, some thoughts on this flight. I enjoyed it. The service was very friendly. The food was nice. But I think knowing the competition on this route, I just think not having direct aisle access is a real miss. And the service was relatively slow. I'm not a fan of a narrow body on transatlantic anyway. And this really just proved that it was difficult for the crew, I think, to manage service with such a limited amount of space. But they did it with a smile and the food was great. So I would say if you can get the throne seat, if you're flying solo, great. If you're flying with somebody else, then maybe those two seats that I got are great. And we arrived in Newark with no customs to go through, which was amazing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you've taken this flight or your own experiences flying transatlantic. And I'll see you again next time.